Welcome to Lady Law Publishing and MikeandJoeConsulting.com. Today, our guest is Deborah Francis. Hi, Deborah. How are you today?
Doing well, Michael and Joan.
Great. So we're going to start the show. This is your show. We're just here to guide you through it, maybe ask you some questions from potential customers that you might get questions from. So why don't we start out by you telling us a little bit about you and who you are and what your company is and how you got there.
Okay, thanks, Mike. My name is Deborah Francis. I am an accountant. I own and operate Intedra Accounting and Bookkeeping Services LLC. We're located here in Goshen, New York. My company started 5 years ago, and we provide accounting, payroll, bookkeeping, tax preparation, services for individuals as well as small businesses. My focus is on small businesses and not-for-profits. I have helped many of them to get their books in order for taxes. So I've been an accountant for more than 40 years, and I'm expressing myself in my own company for the past 5 years. I am an MWBE certified in New York State. So I have the ability to work with not-for-profits in the state.
Okay, and we can kind of tell that's not a Texas accent. So where you worked somewhere else before you came to the United States?
Yes, I am a Jamaican. I worked in the Jamaican with the Jamaican government for more than 8 years before I migrated to the United States. So I was an accountant in Jamaica as well. I have my degree, my Jamaican accounting degree as well before I got here. So I came here and I worked within the system, worked full time, went back to school full time. And the reason for that is when I came to the United States, they wanted me to spend a lot of money to certify my degree from Jamaica. And I said, if I was going to spend that much money to certify it, why not refresh myself? So I went back and got my associate's degree at the Bronx Community College in Bronx, New York. And I went on to Baruch College for my accounting degree, which I graduated with a BBA in specializing in accounting, but I had a minor in English language because I love English. And then I went on to get my master's degree at Jones International University. So I have an MBA specializing in accounting. So while I was there, we did auditing. I had the fundamentals of auditing, forensic accounting. I did financial accounting, cost accounting. So I have a full range of accounting experience and knowledge, as well as we did informational technology. So I'm able to work within the software, accounting software. So I did tax preparation, regulation, all of that. We went through in college while I was there, when I was gaining my MBA.
That's great. Now, you'd mentioned earlier in the green room, we'll call it, that you had worked with a family organization that dealt with big accounts. So, like,
Yes. So for 17 years, when I migrated here, my first job was with that company in Manhattan. So it's a company that sells retail to big organizations like Costco. They sell to Costco, to Walmart, Target, all the big retail industrial businesses. That's where they sell to. So they sell to Canadian Tire, and they have international vendors as well. So they sell to all these big companies that buy retail to sell wholesale, buy wholesale to sell retail, in other words. So yes, I have 17 years of accounting experience with them, going from doing their payroll up to their CFO.
Great. Great. So now you mentioned that kind of like small business. You like,
Yes, I am. Yeah, I'm focused in small businesses right now. Um, not that it's just small businesses. I also look at individuals that have problems putting their accounting together, especially when it comes to tax season, sole proprietors. Sometimes they don't have a established business, but they need to file a Schedule C to, make sure that their profit and their expenses are documented in order to maximize their tax returns. I focus also on nonprofits, like startup nonprofits as well. So we do fund accounting for them and making sure that their donations, their sponsorships, their expenses and income are all categorized to maximize their returns and minimize taxes and risk.
Well, that being a small business to me, that's mind-boggling. I know how I rely on my financial professionals because boy, is that ever important, and you can get off track fast and not so easy to get back on. But I want to go back for a second to how we left off with you working for this large company, doing a very wide variety of things. Did you go from them into your old business, or was there another step in there?
No, I did not go directly into my own business. Even when I was working with them, I was doing like my friends, accounting on the side. She had a little
Sure.
business that I was
Yeah.
helping her with QuickBooks to get her expenses and revenue together so she can file her taxes. But from there, I went on. I studied and got my life and health insurance licenses. So for a period, I was working with a prominent life insurance agency to sell long-term care insurance. I was selling life insurance, and I have my registered rep license that I could do variable investment products.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I still have those licenses. I do my CE credits every year to keep my license up to date. So I still keep that and I incorporate that now into my own business. So when I get a client that has a need for, insurance, especially a client that has young children, that they have young children, I make sure to inform them of the benefits of having an insurance policy for their business, so that and like a successor policy, so if something should happen to them, their children and family would be well taken care of. So it's not just depending on a business. If something should happen to them, everything evaporates when there's no income coming in.
Absolutely.
I try to advise my clients about life insurance as well as business protection insurance, so that they have that possibility of having an all-around financial security.
So you bring a very, very broad range to your clients. I mean,
Yes, I do.
you got the accounting, you got tax stuff going on, you got the insurance stuff. That's quite a service that you can provide. So how'd you jump into your own business?
I was working with New York Life for almost 5 years. I was there,
Wow.
and my focus was on getting single mothers insured. So if I see a young lady or a mother with a young child, like for me, that is my goal, to get them insured.
Mhm.
So I was selling policies, maybe $17, $20, $25 policies, just to make sure that something happens to these young ladies, their children won't be depending on relatives that, will think of their children before they thought of them,
Mm.
because they're not their children. So instead of them just moving on to relatives, they have something that they can have, like a trust fund, should I say, that if their parents passed on and they have a guardian that can guide them and have the money to guide them to adulthood so that they can go to school. So my focus was on those young people. Not to say that if I got big clients or whatever, but as a single mother, My children, until I got married 20 years ago, 21 years ago, my it was just me and my boys, you know. So as a single parent, I know the value of having that security. So that was my focus. But so New York Life tells me that I wasn't making my quota. I wasn't making the 64,000 that I should be making per year with $20 policies. So when they told me that, they dropped me. So I said, you know what? I started applying in my area. I didn't want to go back to the city. So in my area, upstate New York, I started applying, but I never got replies. So I said, I'm going to start my own business because I've been doing this successfully for almost 30 something odd years for other people. So why not try for myself? So that's when I took some money from my savings, started my own, because I also do consultation of structuring your business. So if you wanted, you know, business structure, speak, you know, coaching to see what type of business will suit you, I also have that incorporated in my business. So I started my own firm. I did my articles of organization. I did all of that myself, went to the bank, opened with my little savings account. I put my money in the bank to start up this small business. On my 5th anniversary, I was working from home. So on my 5th anniversary, I was able, God was so good to me that I was able to branch out of my home office and rented an office outside of my home. So now I have a space where I have an office and so you know, nicely set up and everything. And God is so good that I'm able to, you know, sustain and maintain that
That's
separate office.
That's wonderful. What was can you tell us what was one of the hardest challenges you had starting up?
The hardest challenge, and I still have this challenge, is pricing. Because I'm so empathetic. Like I look at what other people charge and what I'm charging, and I say, oh my God. And I spend time in a business. So I don't just go in and say, okay, beep, bop, bop, and this is what, and just spit out a report. I try to make sure that my clients understand what I'm doing and why it's being done. And I do it as if it was my business. So I do it to make sure that they're maximizing all the deductions that they have, they're entitled to. And I make sure that their accounts are gap compliant. So I make sure that everything that their business continue to be a going concern, making sure that we're prudent when we're looking at the expenses and the, you know, and their income, to make sure that we're not just jumping and spending without gaining something. There's no return on investment when you're spending. So I look at those things and I advise my clients, you know, I ask questions. I say, why are you this? Why is that? And as they explain it, I'll explain to them why, what makes sense. For instance, I had a client that had, he has a kitchen showroom. So he does kitchens. So it's a big dollar item. So most people that comes to his establishment for a kitchen, it's like 60,000 and up, 100,000 to do a kitchen because they do the complete thing. So he was paying from his cash when a cabinet supplier or when hardware or countertop, he takes that directly from his cash and pays it to the vendor. So I went into his business for a short time, but then I said to him, like, there's American Express that pays your bills. So you can use your American Express. You have 30 days to pay it, right? You already have the cash, but let your cash sit in your account for a minute. So he's paying 40,000, 60,000 in one pop from his cash that's in his bank.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, no, use your American Express to pay these vendors. Keep your cash where it is. So you have at least that account, that payable period, that your money sits in your account, that makes your business look good. And then at the end of the day, you pay American Express. So you don't have to carry a balance with American Express, but at least your account looks good when your creditors look at it. When anybody looks at your business, it looks like money's in there. So not because you're getting big amounts in, you just pay big amounts out. So your account looks shabby at the end of the month. You have only $5,000 left or $20,000 left when you could have 100,000 and pay that within a month to make that up. So your balance sheet and your financial statements are looking good. And he did that, and he was stopped thanking me for that, because he was able to pay American Express and pay his vendors in a time, and then he was able to get credit for his business when he needs it for product or whatever. So his financial statements were looking good. So these are, yeah.
You really educate your clients.
Yes. I try my best. So
that's way beyond, a bookkeeping service. That's phenomenal. So let me ask you this. If I'm going to start a new business, I know nothing about record keeping or finances or taxes. I've been a W-2er my whole life. I just give my W-2 to my accountant and off it goes. Where do you start with me?
First of all, I would love to hear the type of business you're looking to do. What is your goal? What is your end goal of what you're trying to establish? So for instance, if you're saying, okay, you're gonna, it's just a business you wanted to start, it's just you. For instance, it's a clothing business, or like you're just selling products to make ends meet, then I would say to you, be an LLC, right? It's simpler. It doesn't have the double tax returns that you have to file for an S Corp or a C Corp. And you get the benefit of having a business, and it's a pass-through entity where your 1040 is your tax return. You do one tax return with a Schedule C, and you use your 1040. So you're taxed on half. It's a self-employment tax that you'll be paying for that. Also, with LLC, you have the protection of not having your personal assets frozen if somebody should sue you or your business. So it's just what the business, just the business assets that would be a liability that they could gain anything from. So I would advise that person for that. So if somebody says, I am, this is what I'm doing, I'm hoping to make $500,000 within a year, $1 million within a year, I would tell them to go with a S Corp, being that they're just starting. So I would advise them for S Corp so that they could have their employees do their payroll, take a paycheck for themselves, and have their employees on a payroll. So that's as they pay into the payroll system, then those are deductible to the business. The payroll taxes that you're paying for the company would be deductible to your business. So even though that has two tax returns, that is either you're doing the Schedule C, you have to do a 1120S in March. The due date is in March, and then that passes through to your 1040 with your K1s that you'll use to file your 1040 at the end, in the tax season. So it all depends on what the goal of that particular person.
So would you tell me whether I'm an LLC or a sole proprietor or a corporation, would you tell me, or would you show me how to keep my books?
Yes, I can show you how to keep your books. I will tell you that you have to, as a sole proprietor, a LLC, S Corp, C Corp, you have to separate your personal bills and personal banking accounts from your business. They should be two separate entities. So what is for business goes into your business account. All your expenses are in that account. If it's a business credit card, if it's a business bank account, it has to be dedicated to that, and your personal is your personal account. So if you were to pay yourself as a sole proprietor, you're taking a deduction from your business. That should be clearly stated as owner's pay, you know. So they're taking that from your business and paying yourself, and that goes into your personal account. If it's a payroll that you're doing with your S Corp or your C Corp, that is in your business, and you get your W-2 at the end of the year. So you're getting your paycheck either every week, every month, every 2 weeks, goes to your personal account. So there's a clear line drawn of where the financing is going.
So I'm not paying the mortgage on my house from my business account.
You no, unless the house was your business.
There you go. Right there, exactly.
Right.
I
So
hear
your mortgage is coming from
Perfect.
whatever you're paying yourself to your
Right.
personal account. So your mortgage is not in your business account.
Sure,
Now,
sure.
if you had an office in your house,
Mhm.
on your tax return, you have a home business section
Sure.
where it's the portion of the house that you use just for your business.
Mhm.
So if it's the whole room that you're using, a 12 by 12 room of your house that is dedicated to your business, that is something that you are allowed to claim on your tax returns.
What do you find, or what have you found is the biggest mistake that the business owners make when it comes to the record keeping and, keeping the business expenses straight and things of that nature?
Yeah, exactly. They are using their personal account as their business account. So like for me, and I've had experience with people using their personal and business. So they have to go through the bank statements to say, oh, this was business and this was personal. So it's not jiving correctly exactly how much you're spending for your business, because you have to, that is why you keep your financial records straight, because you want to know if you're making money or not.
Yeah.
So if your bank account is mixing with your personal, how would you know how much your business actually makes?
Sure.
So it doesn't make sense to mix them. And then you have to go through the bank statements to say this, and just the fact that that is auditable, because that is something that draws an audit. Because now the auditor wants to see if that was exactly a business expense or a personal expense. Because now you're saying that, oh, we went to the restaurant and I had lunch with a client, for instance, and it's on your business account, but it wasn't. You have to now prove that it was exactly a client that you had business with, a lunch with, and you spent that money for that client, and not just you having lunch and wanting to write it off for your business.
Sure.
So it's a thin line, to draw between your business and your personal. So I tell people when they come, any young business that wants to start, I said, the first thing I do when I do their article of organization, and we have that certificate, I said, take this to the bank. I do their EIN number and the articles of organization. You go straight to the bank and open an account in your business name with your business tax ID. Anything that's for your business goes in here. So if somebody, like you're just doing the transition, no, somebody paid you in your personal account, but it's supposed to be your business account, transfer that money back into your business and label it as what it should be. So don't mix them. That's a very, very, common error that people think it's not a problem, but it is.
But it is, sure.
Yes.
Do you provide services only to individuals locally, or can you provide services to folks over online? Can you work with somebody in California?
Yes, I can. I work right now. I have clients in Florida, and I'm based in New York, but I have clients in Detroit. I have people in Grand Rapids, Virginia, Pennsylvania. Yes, Florida. I have a few clients in Florida as well. So yes, Georgia. I have clients in Georgia as well. So I work virtually as well, doing accounting as well as taxes.
Well,
So
we want to make sure that our listeners, know, because you go way past bookkeeping, and I mean it sounds like you really provide a foundational piece for their business. You're a real resource for a number of things, the formation of the business and how to keep these books and records and what's best for them. Because I know from my business, people get in. I've seen folks get in a lot of trouble with that commingling of the funds, because it's very difficult for people to pay themselves a paycheck from account number one, which is the business account, and take it and go deposit it in account number two, and then write the mortgage out of account number two, which is their personal checking account. It doesn't like naturally. It's like, wait a minute, there's a checkbook right here. Why can't I just write the mortgage out of it? I'm sure you see that all the time.
yep,
Yeah.
yep,
I,
all the time.
I keep telling her the business should pay for my hair plugs because I'm on the ear all the time. And she said she'd give me a handkerchief to put on my head.
It's a
Which
lot.
she is right. She
Thank
is
you.
right.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Go
But
ahead.
small businesses should also know that like for health insurance, if you were to get a health insurance plan for you as a small business owner, that is also deductible because it's for you as the owner and family. So you could have a small health insurance policy from your business that your business pays that is deductible to you. But you have to, of course, you have to make sure it's the right health insurance policy that you have.
So can you tell us a little bit about working with a like when you say you work for not-for-profits, are you talking about just examples? You don't need specific clients, but things like the American Cancer Society or the local Humane Society, things of that nature. And does that also encompass things like schools, doing accounting for schools or things of that nature, or is that more a municipality function?
I haven't worked in a not-for-profit that was for schools per se,
Okay.
but that would be municipal. And yes, that's something that I would be able to do as well.
Okay.
But I've worked with an adoptive foster family organization that is funded by New York State Office of Children Protection.
Mhm.
So I've worked for them for the past 4 years.
Wow.
And we started small because they were just, gradually going into QuickBooks, and I kind of organized them, make sure that they have classes with all of their funding. I classified them, I categorized them, and making sure that all the funding that comes in is dedicated to the expenses that those funding was for.
Oh.
So for instance, over COVID, they had funds coming specifically for COVID emergency.
Sure.
And what they should be doing with those funding. There was a point where they were doing sending children computers. So they had, bought the computers from Amazon. So I had to make sure that that fund was expended just to buy those computers with the shipping and the programming that those computers needed to go to these families that needed it. I was subcontracting for that company because they are contracted with the state of New York. So I subcontracted with them as a MWB to
Great.
satisfy their 30% disbursement to that.
Yep.
And I'm working currently with the federal government providing services to one of the ambassadors from Brazil.
Oh, wow.
So she's here and she has so I provide services to that staff. So I do their accounting for the staff and I get paid from the federal government. So I have that.
What a diverse, well, the thing is, when you think of, look at the skills you bring to your clients. That's the whole thing, the package that you can bring to your clients. Now I have to ask you this question because you mentioned COVID. How did you keep up with the regulation changes during the height of COVID? Oh my God.
Yeah, it was crazy, but to me, that was my best year during COVID because then nobody wanted to leave their office. So I was able to, I couldn't visit offices anymore. So everything came to me here in my office. So I worked from home. And yes, the changes were a little bit, over the top,
Oh,
but we had to learn to adapt, right?
oh
So,
my goodness.
we had to be reading up the compliance rules and making sure that the PPP loans were forgiven and the EDLs, to the $10,000 that they were, forgiving for some people had to do the calculation, do the payroll to make sure that the PPP loans were going towards payroll, towards rent, towards things that, the company was using
Yeah.
to keep people employed. So it was a little bit hectic, but I loved it. I love challenges when it comes to
Okay.
accounting. Thus, I love to do forensic accounting. So I'll dig in and I'll find whatever it is that's causing a problem, dig that sore out and expose it and clear it up so that we move forward smoothly. So
Well,
those things challenge.
well, yeah, I mean, COVID kept us all on our toes.
Yep,
In the
it
court,
did.
in the court system, we were getting, some days we had notices every 2 hours as
Wow.
to how things were going to move and change. And it was just like, okay, you know what? I'm turning you off now. I'm done. But in any, have you ever been an expert witness?
No, not yet. No,
That's the answer. Not
not
yet.
yet.
I like that answer because as soon as I hear forensic accounting, I put you in my the old term, I put you in my address book.
Okay.
I rely on forensic accountants a lot in my business. So
Okay.
your name's going in there, I'll tell you right now. So
Thank you.
Michael, could you have any other questions?
No, you know what? I'm just sitting here learning and listening.
Yes,
Okay.
definitely.
And what I think we're going to do, we're going to put all your information, of course, on the podcast and on the YouTubes and on the sponsor page, but also we're going to get some feedback over the next several weeks. And I'll probably come back and ask you if you're up to do a live show where everybody from Georgia and Florida and California can ask questions on the chat.
Okay. Yes.
And
That sounds like fun.
I wanted to do that.
Challenge.
I wanted to do that while we were recording because it was easier to get you to say yes.
Oh,
Out
okay.
of all of our listeners.
Yeah, and I wanted to add also that I'm an adjunct professor. I'm teaching accounting 101 at the university, SUNY Ulster. So I teach accounting 101 there. So I just keep moving. I just keep, I just enjoy doing it. I love accounting. Yes, I love to do accounting and I love to help people. So it just meshes in,
Well, we can't thank you enough for joining us today. Oh my gosh, this has been wonderful.
And just remember, while you're undercharging, you're saving tens of thousands of dollars on radio and TV and advertising, because I'm sure you're getting better word of mouth referrals than some of those people that charge 2 times what you charge. And they're spending it all on advertising.
Yeah, and I have to thank God for that. So because so far I'm in business 5 years, and most of my clients are referrals.
There you go.
So far,
Of course,
most of my clients are referrals.
And that speaks volumes. That speaks volumes about you. That's wonderful. Well, again, we can't thank you enough.
So Deborah, before we close this out, tell everybody how to get a hold of you, your website, your whatever you want to give out, phone number, website, Facebook. Tell everybody right now how to get a /hold of you.
So my website is Intedra Accounting and Bookkeeping Services. My website is https // @integra.com. You can also reach me at Deborah Integra.com. And my telephone number is 845-772-3460. That's my office number. 845-772-3460. And I can be reached by email or by phone anytime.
Okay,
Thank you.
You're gonna be on our sponsor page, which is gonna have your business logo, which is going to be a link right to your website and all
Thank
of
you.
your information.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
We appreciate you educating our listeners, and I'm sure there's a ton of them out there that just were like, oh my God, that this was a great show. I was meaning to ask somebody about my shoebox full of napkins and receipts from the gas station.
Yes, and I help them with that as well.
Yeah.
So,
When
yes.
I met her, that's when I had, she said, well, how do you run your business? And I said, well, a shoebox full of everything I gathered and dumped it
We
on
don't
the
have
table.
shoe boxes anymore.
Anymore. No, no, no.
I fell in love with the bookkeeping.
Mm-hmm.
What do you use mostly?
I use for my bookkeeping software, I use QuickBooks.
Okay.
So I'm
That's
using,
what we use.
yes. So I use QuickBooks Online and QuickBooks Desktop because most of my clients already have that started. So it's easier to integrate into that. I have a knowledge of Xero. I haven't used it with I haven't met any clients that does that. And for my payroll service, I do use a payroll service for my payroll. In that, I know clients that have used software like QuickBooks, for instance, for their payroll, not to disparage QuickBooks, but they always had like tax issues, like underpaying taxes with just an accounting software. So just like you go to a mechanic to fix your car and not to a doctor to fix your car, you go to a doctor to fix your heart, a cardiologist to fix your heart. You go to a payroll service company that does just payroll for payroll. So I am a strong believer in that. You don't just, throw your payroll to anybody and then you end up with penalties and interest. So that's my strong belief in a payroll company.
Well, that was great. So you got all your information in there. I'm going to close this out now, but hang on. We're going to talk to you after we're done recording. And ladies and gentlemen, everybody who's listening, thank you so much for tuning in to ladylawpublishing.com, Mike and Joe Consulting podcast. And in just a short time, this YouTube and the podcast will be on our website to go in and listen to, re-listen to, and mark your favorite spots. So thank you all. God bless, and good luck to you, Deborah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.